Welcome back to the It's Bigger Than Me podcast. I'm your host, Molly Trotter Gomez. You guys, this has been like so long in the making of having these two on this podcast. At first, you see that lovely lady here, Miss Giselle. I wanted her on the podcast back in her single days. That is a whole story, which I know we're going to get into because today we're like taking a cannonball into the dating scene. It's going to be amazing. And then she met her handsome husband, Grant here. They have just an incredible testimony when it comes to, gosh, all things dating and just really, I mean, you can call it for some, even just beating the odds, the persistence, knowing what you want, going after it, living that out transparently, I might add. I mean, I remember Giselle when you were in your going through dating, it was like, man, this girl is transparent. She is showing all the things and good on you because that is it can be very vulnerable, but you showed people so much in that process, and both of you have crazy stories even just coming together. So I'm not even, like my guests already know, I don't even go into the bio because you guys share it way better than I do. But I'm so excited to introduce everybody listening, everybody watching, to the Herbolds. Their story is amazing. So go ahead, and whoever wants to start, share a little bit about who you are, your background, and then we'll just go where the Lord leads with this conversation today.
Love it. You go first, babe.
All right. Well, first, thank you, Molly, for having us on here. It's such an honor. And yeah, I love exactly what you shared because it is so true. I did share every single part of the process. And I think that that's going to set this podcast up really well. But really, I am Giselle. I was born in Miami, Florida. I grew up Catholic. I have 4 wonderful sisters. Love my parents. I booked a one-way ticket to California a few years ago, and I've never looked back. And I've been in the entrepreneurial space for almost a decade, selling network marketing products and really just trying to figure out my calling. And really, I've landed in such a beautiful place. And so if you're looking for hope and inspiration, stick around because it really is beautiful how the Lord's tied it all together. And this is my wonderful husband.
Yeah, so I'm Grant. And, I born and raised in Orange County, California, and never left. And, one of the things that's been really impactful for me, my life calling, was to be a pastor. And I was for about 4 years, and I loved it. My master's degree is in ministry and leadership. And that calling kind of shifted. I actually, when I was younger, I actually went through a divorce, and that was something that actually impacted what we do now. She doesn't just do network marketing. She leads Holy Girl Walks. We started a whole ministry and business together, which is Divine Design Dating LLC. And we are in the dating space. Like, that's what we do, dating coaching. And it all stems from our passion to help Christian singles never experience divorce. I went through one. Her parents went through a divorce. And so we actually bonded over that pain. And God has used the pain in our life and turned it into our purpose. And so we went through this whole journey, crafting, building, interviewing, researching, so much time and effort to build what we have now to impact the lives of Christian singles. So that's where we're at. And we're continuing to go and impact more people.
I love it. I mean, from just your background, Giselle, of, obviously I've been in network marketing as well. I've been in the entrepreneurial space. So we see what obviously the dating scene has been over there. There's a lot of people who are in, taking entrepreneurs, for example, or just people in general that are single, just trying to find like-minded, mission-minded people. And then Grant, tossing it over to you, like being in ministry. I mean, that's a whole nother pool of people just, and I feel like even in the church, we could totally deep dive on this. Sometimes singles can get neglected at the church. They have marriage conferences and women's conferences and men's conferences. But it's like, what about the singles? What about the dating? Like, where do we find these people outside of bars or these wild functions that usually are resulting around extracurricular activities, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd love to kind of even start there, because people that are single, they're probably, okay, well, like, what advice can you give me? Like, I've tried all the things, like, where can people really just kind of dive in to meet people? Or maybe we even want to start with yourself and like what it is that you really want. Either way, the floor is open.
Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of it, I love history. So you have to understand the history of how things worked, even to get to where the confusing dating world that we have today. As Christian dating coaches, a lot of the confusion that we see, which is rampant, confusion is everywhere in the dating space. 30 years ago, there were singles events or things that churches had. They had different singles opportunities, and churches have gone completely away from that, completely away. And we have seen such a need for the single community, like you said, because it is confusing. We're told to meet Christians, to find them, and to be married to somebody who's equally yoked. But then the confusion sets in when you talk to somebody at church and you get rejected at church. And then that person sometimes, because there's this weird energy where somebody, because they get offended, or they get you get perceived as creepy, at least for the men that we work with. This happens to a lot of them. Because they ask a girl out in church, they have some weird conversation with the pastor, because the pastor's like, hey, you can't ask girls out in church. And it creates a whole thing of confusion for everybody. So then where do we meet them? And that is, dating apps can be confusing if you don't know how to navigate them. And we step into all of this to create clarity in dating, because we believe God is a God of clarity, not confusion. And so many Christians are confused in dating. It is a very confusing modern dating world. And we bring our clients complete clarity so that they know how to navigate it.
I love it. And how about from the female's perspective, Giselle?
Yeah, I think that because it is, like Grant said, there's a lot of bad stigma of like asking women out in the church. But it's interesting because it's like, well, men don't ask me out at church. It's like both sides, right? So it's like, yes, and why? Why aren't they asking? I never got asked out anywhere besides a dating app. So for me, I really believed that I was going to meet my husband on a dating app, because that's all that was happening in my life. And I ended up meeting Grant in a Facebook dating group. And it was really just like me being nice, welcoming him into the community. And it turned into us getting married. But besides Grant, I didn't have that exposure where men were bold to come up to me in church and ask me. And I was part of a really small church. So I really did my praying there. But then Mariners opened up, and Oceans, like there was other functions that I was going to, but it never seemed to happen for me. And I just really believe that in singleness, this is why I really try to teach my clients. It's like, it doesn't have to be a season of waiting and a season of like it being terrible. It's such a beautiful season that you're never going to get back. So I really tell my clients, like, go do things that you wouldn't do otherwise. So like a lot of my girls are like, well, I'm going to wait for this to do this. And I'm like, no, go book the trip now. Like I took 9 months, me and God, and I went to Hawaii, I went to Michigan. Like I did things on my own to really just explore the things that I liked, right? I went surfing. I booked a surfing lesson. I didn't wait until I met my husband to do those things. And I think that when you put yourself in those positions, again, it might not happen, it might happen, but you have opportunities to meet people that have the same interests. So that's from like a church perspective. And I would just say, like, go do the things that you're passionate about, learn about the things that you love to do, try something new. I had never done surfing. There's no waves in Miami. So I was like, I'm going to get this done. And then it was great.
Yeah, that's one aspect of the confusion that Christian singles face in the dating world. And all the confusion stems from things we've been taught, right? When you have a certain lens for how you see the world, things that you've been taught or raised in, that's how you see everything else. And so that angle, the whole church angle, has confused Christian dating. Dating apps have confused Christians because they don't know how to use them the right way. We know how to use them, so we teach them how to use them. I mean, she found 7 virgins on the dating apps, and so many Christians are like, I can't find anybody who's saved themselves for marriage, or I can't find good men who follow Jesus. And they are out there, You just have to know how to find them.
Yes.
So that's an aspect of confusion people feel. We've been raised in a Disney culture. Disney had its own effect on dating. I like to say that I coined this term, or we coined this term, detox Disney in your dating. So we have to detox the Disney out of our clients. We actually work on doing that with them. We detox the Disney because Disney taught us that there's Prince Charming. He's going to come and rescue the princess. He is perfect in every way. The princess is in need. She's in distress. You have to go and save the princess because she is needy and she needs this man to come and save her. And then she's perfect as well after that. And they get married, and then everything is happily ever after. And all of the history into why dating is so confusing now is important to understand, because in reality, when you research, like we researched with 50 plus married couples, asking them what made marriage work. They're married 20, 30, 40 years. And there was one key ingredient in 90% of what they said. And 90% of the people that we interviewed and talked with said that the one thing that made their marriage work that long is forgiveness. Like forgiveness is the thing that makes marriage work. You can be compatible in certain ways, but then people change in marriage. People change. We adapt in different situations. Our likes sometimes change. We as people sometimes change. But forgiveness, which is so perfect because that's what Jesus does for us, it's central to everything. It's like the lifeblood of a relationship, or any relationship, is forgiveness. But we find so many Christian singles who've stepped so far away from that they look for a man who makes six figures if you're a girl. If he has a house, then he's great. If he has all of this money, or how he looks a certain way, or he dresses a certain way, like those are all things that we see women desiring. Are the women themselves, that?
Yes.
No. And so they desire things that they aren't even having. And that creates a whole set of confusion for the men, because some men don't feel like they can measure up to that.
Yeah.
That impossibly high standard for a lot of men, and women pass up on really great men. That leads into our story. I feel like you should share about.
Before we jump into your story, because yes, I want to build in that backstory because it's so good and I want to know your perspective, Giselle, because gosh, there's so many points. I love all of this. Like, first of all, when people ask couples, what's the key ingredient? I think most of the time people say, oh, communication. And it's like, over and over and over again. So quite literally, this is the first time for me that I've heard from somebody else after they've done research that forgiveness is the key ingredient, which is so true. We live in Orange County, and the divorce rate is, super, super high. And for a lot of people, like at the root of that, obviously there are differences where you do need to separate. And then a lot of it is just unforgiveness. And they're like, let me just start over. It'd just be easier to start over. Right. I love that you said that. That could be a whole podcast in and of itself. I can't move past the fact that you went there and said, detox Disney and dating. My husband and I have had that conversation of like, man, we must have really had this like jacked up perspective of like what marriage should be. He comes from, on his side of the family, multiple divorces from his parents. My parents, they've been together, I think they're going on close to 40 years, but a lot of that was like, they barely liked each other. They're now just rekindling their marriage after 40 years. So I saw a lot of like loveless moments, and we knew we didn't want that. How can we do something different? So it's so good. People need to just stop and smell the roses of like, whatever it is that you think you saw, like go and get some reality. And we'll even share, like, I remember there were seasons Johnny would share like with his friends, literally the next day we get in a fight. And I probably said some choice words and things that I shouldn't have. I'm like, you told them that? He's like, yeah, they need to know. I'm like, well, I guess my innings just chuck it out the window. Like, it's true. Like, you need to know, like, this can and probably will happen. What are you going to do after it does? So those are so good points. And then before I hear your guys' story, I just want to just even echo one last thing that you said was the expectations of the other person. I remember me growing up, like I had family members coming to me being like, you need to marry like a pro athlete, 6 whatever, making da 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 da. And my words verbatim, my uncle said this to me. my words verbatim was like, why? So he can cheat on me? Like, so I can just be like, no, thank you. You know, I'm good. And at this point, I've had many, many boyfriends up until then all cheat on me. It was literally like cheat on me was printed on my forehead. And so I was clearly my picker was off because I was just a habitual dater. And then in walks my husband, didn't really see him coming at all. Wasn't like the whole package, didn't see it coming, just snuck in there. And then all of a sudden the Lord's like, ding, here you go. And I'm the taller one in the relationship. I'm older almost by 5 years, like all these different things that we thought that would be like non-negotiables that really don't matter. So going into that, you know, Giselle, I would love to be able to hear your perspective on this because women, like I can't speak for you. I can speak for me and probably other women. We kind of got messed up a little bit. Like our standards are super high. And it's like, what are we bringing to the table? And why are they so high? Like, why are we doing that?
Yeah. And that's really good because it happened when I was dating Grant. And I'm surrounded by a lot of successful people. Like I am. And I think that I even for a moment was like thinking, well, you know, I want to be a stay-at-home mom and like I want to do this. But I also knew that I had such a calling on my life that was bigger than I could even like think. And I couldn't imagine just not doing anything. So when I actually met Grant, and we've shared this on social media, you know, he told me, he's like, look, I don't have 6 figures. Like I don't make 6 figures and I cannot offer that to you right now. But what I can offer you is a lot more than that. And it's Jesus. And I remember this happened. It was New Year's Eve, our first New Year's Eve together. He came over. It was like a group of all my closest friends. And he got nailed by 2 of my girlfriends. And they're like, how much money do you make? And
it's the first question.
Yeah. And it was like real. It was kind of brutal. And he was like completely transparent. And I just remember feeling so uncomfortable. And it really like, it could have been a moment for me where I was like, I'm going to lean in or I'm going to dip out. And I had a conversation with my mom and she said, Giselle, your dad and I started from zero and we made our first million by the age of 24. Like, don't let finances, you know, take you away from this. If this is really what you feel like God's calling you to. And it was crazy because when we got married, when Grant proposed, he didn't even have a job.
I lost my job.
He lost his job. And then we get married and then I lose my job, you know, that same week.
Boom,
and
boom.
Here's the thing. If money is an idol in your life, that will destroy your marriage. That will destroy your dating. Molly, for not 1 minute did I worry about finances. And I kept telling him because he didn't have a job for the first 3 months of our marriage. And I got a job right away. So it was one of those things where it's like, okay, yes, literally everything checks the box, but the finances aren't there. Like, I'm really going to let that. And I chose to not. And, you know, now we're stepping into our calling. We've been doing what we're doing. And it's really been beautiful to see how God has literally in less than a year, how everything's changed. And so my encouragement for women is don't let finances. And here's the thing. Those girls are still single.
They're still very single.
Ooh-wee.
And so it's like, but these are things that you're passing up on because you have this expectation of, and here's the thing I hear, it's, I want a man to provide for me.
Security.
And don't get me wrong. I think it's very important, but it's not just financial. There's more to that. And there's a difference between being lazy and not making 6 figures or 7 figures, you know? And so I saw that he worked hard. I saw that he was a great dad. I saw the other qualities in him that really the money was just not a thing for me. We did work through some things in the beginning because he was very responsible. And, you know, for me, I'm like, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to get it. Like, I'll figure it out type of a thing. So, but we've worked through all of those things and it's great.
Yeah. So when it comes to, especially that financial confusion, a lot of women and men face money because of the world that we live in right now. So many people have a very scarcity mentality when it comes to money. It's what drives a lot of people's desire for money. It's what drives a lot of women or men to say they need to make this amount. And it's kind of ironic because instead of having the idol of money being like, money is like my God, it's idolized in a different way, where it's like, I am so dependent on if this person has it or not, that I step away really from God and faith. I mean, could you imagine if Abraham said that when God called him to go, leave everything behind, pack up everything that he had, move to a new location that he didn't even know the end goal and had no idea what God would do or how he would provide. And if Abraham was just like, no, and we see stories in the Bible where people say no for different reasons, like Jonah, and their whole story gets very confusing. They themselves become confused. So we really love to teach people through our own story and through those who we've researched and talked with that faith in God is the most important thing you can have. It's worth far more than money. You have to be ready as a single person where God could take everything away from you. You could have a Job situation where you have everything taken away. And if money is your idol, and if you say, and we genuinely believe this, if you say, I need my man to make this amount of money, you are idolizing money so far ahead of God, because it's becoming the one thing you care most about. Like when you ask somebody, how much money do you make? And that's the first question you ask somebody when you're meeting the friend your person is dating. That just shows a lot of where your heart is really at, because Jesus is worth far more than money. That's why I told her that. I was like, I can't offer you 6 figures, but I can offer you something even more valuable, which is Jesus.
That right there, Grant, like I just have to jump in real quick. Like that right there, I hope that any of the men listening or ladies like share this with your man or share it with a man, anyone. If he's a male, share it. That is huge right there. Cause that right there, like you're so transparent, so bold, so confident of like, I can't do this yet, but this is what I can do. And she was like, yes, I want that. And so many women just want to be led. They want to be met with some kind of security. They think it's money, but really it's so much obviously deeper. And we could go into, I mean, this could be like a 20-part series talking about all this because it's so, so good. But as we're wrapping this up today, I know everybody, because me included, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're coming to the end of this. We have barely scratched the surface. Are you kidding me?
We did more.
It's like, what is one thing that you would love to kind of just wrap this in about both of you, kind of briefly just share, because there's so many aspects to dating. And clearly everyone, if you're in that season of singleness and you want to get out of confusion, you want to get into clarity, and you want to be able to just scrape off what the world's tried to tack on you, these two are definitely going to be great voices in your life. So Grant, we'll hear from you first, and then Giselle, we'll end it with you of just one last little bit of encouragement, advice, anything you want to share.
Yeah. My encouragement, especially for men, I'll speak to the men because that's who I coach mainly. For the men, I would say this: be confident in who you are and that you can offer Jesus over money. If you don't make 6 figures, you can still be married. That does not mean you're financially unstable. Anybody can make more money. Anybody can make more money. You can hire a business coach and make more money. Offer Jesus and be confident in your offer of that. So step into that with confidence.
For me, I think I would say really have clarity on who it is that you desire. And then what I always tell my client is open your hands and say, Lord, I surrender, and allow him to surprise you. Like really quick, I never knew that I would share the story of me taking on 3 bonus babies, but I did. And I had dreams with all of them. And it was me being open to what God had in store for me. And what I always tell people is like, God knows way better than you can. He's the author. If you let him be the author of your story will be so much better than you could have ever thought or imagined. So that would be it for me.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. I'm like, can this just be longer, please? So you'll obviously come back. That is clear, but you guys are clearly doing such amazing work. It's so obvious and transparent in both of your lives. And so you'll have everything you need, everyone, in the show notes. You can connect with them on social media. Instagram is where I love to follow both of you. It's so fun to be able to follow your journey and the people you get to impact. So thank you both for coming on the show and just sharing your heart with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Molly.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. It means the world to me that you would lean in, listen in, and be able to hear the value that's being shared on this show. Don't forget, if you love this episode, rate the show, leave me a review, be sure to share it with a friend, and don't forget to tag me on social media. I will definitely be giving you a shout out. Also, come say hi, drop in the DMs. I would love to be able to hear what stood out to you the most on the episode, and if there's any topics that you would like to hear on the show. We'll see you next time.